Hi. I just thought I'd show you something that I picked up at a place called Ribtor. Ribtor was an Army surplus place, and it was a hardware and camping place, store, and it was closing down, and I went through their old warehouse. I found this vacuum tube device, and I took a look at it, and I said, okay, let's take a quick inspection. It's got tubes on it. Oh, it's got speaker. So it's got a speaker connector, and it's got some strange plug here, pretty rotten shape, and it's got some wires. So I'm thinking because it's a speaker, it might be an amplifier. So this looks like over here, this looks like the power supply, probably a choke over here. This I don't know what this would be for, and over here it's got another little transformer. So I'm thinking, well, it's got some octal sockets, so maybe these are for some power tubes and stuff like that. So I thought I'd picked it up for next to nothing. This looks like it'd be electrolytic cap, and it was very dusty. Couldn't see what all this stuff is. There's still some dust. You can see what the dust in here. It was so coated you couldn't see it. Had been sitting on a shelf for, decades and that. So what I did is I cleaned it all up. I found out that this was on a socket. Well, that's really surprising because capacitors are never on a socket. So I took a look at this and I cleaned it all off, and it's a vibrator. So what it is a VR, let's see if or a type, there we can see it, type G826C vibrator. Right? So that's kind of interesting. Now the other thing that happened is that when I took it out of the case here, let me just grab it. I had to unscrew the bolts, take the case off here. This can be tricky with two hands or one hand. Just a sec here. There we go. So I took it off the case. I take a look underneath, and there is no wires connected to the speaker connection. So it's kind of toast. As you can see, one of the power tubes here was busted, right? It was in this position here. Here's the top part, the cap on it, and we can see that it's a 2E24. So they actually labeled what the tubes were. There's two 2E24s. This one here was a vibrator. This is a 074 and a VR105. So now this is interesting because I don't recognize any of these tubes. So I went online, and what I found is that what this is, when we looked at the vibrator, on the side of the vibrator, it's a 12 volt connect for use only on a 12 volt battery. So what this is actually a power supply. What they do is they bring 12 volts in. The vibrator is just a mechanical, sort of a mechanical relay that switches between the center tap of this transformer and each of the leads, and it converts 12 volts into an AC signal. So it's like one of the very first pulse generators or whatever. So this is our power transformer. The output is boosts up to about somewhere around 100 to 200 volts. This is a choke or a big coil. The output of this comes to the O0Z4, which is our rectifier. So it's a dual rectifier. And then this goes to a VR105, which happens to be a voltage regulator, and acts very similar to a Zener diode, except its voltage is 105 volts. You can take these, you can put them in series, and you can double it so it's 210 volts. You can get them in 90, 105, 150, I think it is, in 220, something like this. And then over here, these two are power tubes, and they're therefore I think what they're doing is they're making an oscillator so they get higher voltage and that, and then they go into here. So I'm not too sure about this. I've got all this part figured out, and unfortunately it's not a guitar amplifier. or amplifier that I can use parts for. It didn't cost me much at all, probably a couple bucks. I brought a pile of stuff to the front cashier, and he says, he was an old guy, probably 70, 75 years old. He says, give me $5 for it. My wife got a pack of sandpaper. We got some steel rulers and this. All right, so I thought I'd share that with you.